All right, the coup d'etat of boxing back on the little midweek special. A slight deviation from our normal Sunday schedule, but it's been a difficult period for official and myself, and it's great finally having the chairman of the board and the chief executive officer back on the same call. Don't know how long it's even been, but it's been maybe about a month or so. Official, how you doing?
Pretty pumped up for this fight, man. This been the only thing I've been thinking about this fight. Can't help myself. Other than that,
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
wonderful to be back
Hence
with
why
you here.
the show on eve of, for us personally, has been the most anticipated. Not only as a rematch, but as a fight. If it was even standalone. Um, 8 years after Roman Gonzalez and Estrada fought in November the 17th, 2012. It's been a long time coming, but thanks to Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, and DAZN, they've managed to find some sort of financial conciliation for the two athletes, and we're almost here. So it's a special show in which we're going to preview and break down the fight in its entirety, with official taking the lead on a lot of the aspects. He's conducted sort of a lot of analysis. We've sort of coordinated certain sections of fights that we wanted to highlight, and try and make a synopsis and a breakdown. Very, very difficult task it's been, because we're dealing with two prime athletes, two prime fighters who've exemplified a lot of skills and traits and ambition, which sadly fighters of the current era are not really displaying. And one of the reasons why we've been a little bit reticent about putting that shows every week, boxing has been extremely disappointing, not only during the lockdown period, but it's a situation where fighters have feel after one significant victory that they become bigger than boxing, and hence they can hold ransom the television networks and the negotiators that have put him in these prime positions, i.e. Teofimo Lopez, who thinks he's now bigger than boxing. When you win a purse bid and you immediately publish a picture on social media holding all four belts and highlighting a 6.5 million, that kind of highlights the mentality of these fighters who are just, money is their proclivity. They don't really want any more challenges, and hence they kind of retreat and get off networks to try and prevent whether it's rematches or further competitive fights. But with Gonzalez and Estrada, it's the opposite. Juan Francisco, when he stepped down from 112 pounds flyweight to find Gonzalez at 108 pounds, he was a relatively unknown fighter, but he was hungry for success. Had suffered one defeat at the time, but he avenged that defeat after. The first fight with Gonzalez and Estrada, a magnificent fight, one of the best fights of all time. But unfortunately, the judges' scorecards was what let down the fight. All three judges had a unanimous victory, cards of 118, 118, 110, and two cards of 116, 112. I think they were outrageous. A lot of differing opinion on the outcome of the fights. Very difficult fight to score, because a lot of them, just the volume of punches, and sometimes it's hard to kind of ascertain between landed and the sort of blocked and parried blows. But the more I watched the fight, I think Estrada was not only super competitive, but I think he was the better, more dynamic fighter. And I've often talked about over the years that Estrada has, for me, it's been disappointing that he's sort of transitioned more into a fighter who doesn't really utilize as much movements as he did sort of back then. And I think he was a far more effective, fluid, and sort of lucid and transparent sort of boxer. Better on the back foot back then as well, but Estrada was only 22 back then. Gonzalez was 25. Gonzalez, although Estrada was coming down in weight, Gonzalez looked. He just looked the bigger, stronger, the heavier puncher at the time. Estrada didn't have his man strength at all. In fact, he looked kind of sort of loose-limbed and sort of skinny, sort of gangly. But the skills and ability were clearly there. That's the Estrada I liked even more than the Estrada that I've been seeing over the years. But he's definitely acquired his strength now at sort of 30 years old. He's floating around his around its peak. If it hadn't been for a lot of wars that have taken its toll on his body, coupled with the fact that he's had a lot of periods of being out of the ring with various injuries to shoulder, elbow. He's had knee problems as well. So that coupled with a lot of wear and tear in the body, and the fact that these guys are, Gonzalez has 50 victories, 2 defeats. So these guys have had very protracted long careers in fighting in the States, Mexico, China, Gonzalez, Japan. So global warriors, and so it's good that in our lifetime we've able to get a rematch of this sort of magnitude. And Fisher, any sort of introductory comments before we commence with the film study?
Yeah, just a few words. I would say that it is interesting. This rematch is happening almost 10 years after the first fight, and when those kind of rematches happen, you would say that those are the rematches between the shot fighters, but this is clearly not the case, because even today both of them are at a very top level in a pound for pound sense. Of course, there's a lot of wear and tear, especially when it comes to Chocolatito, but despite that, still it tells you everything. When almost 10 years after the first fight, people are so hyped up about this fight for a damn good reason. I don't know, man. I may be a Chocolatito fanboy, a huge Choco fanboy, but the first fight to me, don't get me wrong, it was very competitive, but I had it for Chocolatito without any doubt. And while preparing the clips for this film study, I wasn't really scoring at this time, but man, I mean, I don't want to waste the words on it. I'm gonna show you later, but anyways, both of them had fantastic moment in the first fight. Since then, they accomplished a lot. Great fight. What more can I say?
And with Estrada, we know the motivation that he's possessing, having already avenged 2 losses, and now the fight that he's been requesting for a number of years, ever since 2012. He communicated to Zamford that he wanted an immediate rematch, but Gonzalez was the big A side back then. Although the fight was on the undercard of Viloria and Hernan Marquez, at the time the negotiators were already pitting Gonzalez in with Viloria, so there was no way Estrada was going to get a rematch. And now we see the economics almost shifting a full 180 degrees, official, with Estrada being the A side from a DAZN perspective. And we saw in Carlos Quadras just how badly DAZN and Eddie Hearn wanted this fight, having protected Estrada in the 3rd round. Otherwise, there was a great possibility that he could have been knocked out in the fight. So they clearly saved him. and hence we have the fight. So it's probably one of the only times in boxing history where I'm actually happy about the corruption, just to get the rematch.
Yes, yes, indeed, exactly. I'm glad too, I must admit. And yeah, by the way, yeah, this weight class definitely favors the age, also favors Estrada, but we all know that. Um, I don't know what else to say. Yeah, I mean, I've been wondering who will be the real, not the A side, but if it's a real close fight, who would the judges favor? I'm I was thinking a lot about it, and I'm still unsure. Although I think they would lean towards Estrada, but again, see for example the first fight between him and Rungvisai. Watching it back then, I remember I had Rungvisai winning the first fight 8-4, while I think, if I'm not wrong, that you thought Estrada maybe deserved the victory, and so I was surprised that the judges actually gave that fight to Rungvisai. So it may be a counter argument, meaning that maybe Estrada won't be given any gifts. So I don't know. It's a very tricky question. I'm still not sure what to think, but yeah, I would say that they would lean a bit towards Estrada because he's a younger fighter. Not only that he's a Mexican, but people would say, at least for now, that he has a bit more in the tank. Also, he signed with the Zone, if I'm not wrong, about 2 years before Chocolatito. So I don't know.
Yeah, the promotional situation is quite a kind of interesting. I'm sure both fighters have retained their original promotional registration rights, with Estrada being with Zanfer, and Roman Gonzalez with second promotions with Mr. Honda in Japan. Um, Both have fought on different promotions in the international cards in the States, but Estrada definitely signed a kind of international third party deal with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. And with Gonzalez, I'm not 100% sure whether Eddie Hearn just had some rights, or whether there is some sort of ancillary promotional deal with Gonzalez. I haven't really looked into those matters, but um, and it's a big question, official. That is, if we're talking about the the possibility of what might transpire on the cards, but is the fight even going to get past the full 12 rounds? That's another kind of difficult decision, which would kind of entertain and sort of unravel as we get on.
Yeah, let me tell you just one thing. Me, who thought that predicting Tanaka versus Yoka would be extremely, extremely difficult. Man, it is nothing compared to this fight, because, in my opinion, still honestly, in all honesty, I think every possible outcome is possible. I can see how it could happen, so no outcome would surprise me at all.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's get down to it. Let's get down to the fight analysis.
Oh,
Um, I'm going to be pretty redundant in this sector. This is officials masterclass tonight. Just think of me as officials butler. I'll be holding his Jean Paul Gaultier double breasted trench coat while he's delivering.
oh man. Oh, okay, okay. So let's share the screen then. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, the clips are not in any particular order, so I'm going by the alphabetical order. And okay, so let's go. First thing, this clip, I named it "Angles and the Left Uppercut." So this is something that is Chocolatito's bread and butter, and is one of the things that, in my opinion, started changing the game in the first fight in Chocolatito's favor. Yeah, you see it here. So I think that from the around fourth round on, Chocolatito changed a couple of things. First 3-4 rounds, they were really going tit for tat, and Chocolatito never faced an opponent like Estrada, who has so much heart that he was able to always try and go and answer Chocolatito's punches and try to land the last shot. So last punch in the exchange. So it was incredibly difficult beginning of the fight. But one of the things that, and there are 3 or 4 things that, in my opinion, helped Chocolatito change the fight. One of them was this body work, where and see, after throwing a punch from a long or mid range, he would go to the angle, to the outside angle, and immediately smother the left shoulder of his opponent. So it was also the case with Estrada, like with any other Chocolatito's opponent, and then goes further to an angle and rips this hell of a uppercut or left hook. And I think that he was really folding Estrada the whole night with those punches. He brutally punished him to the body, in my opinion.
Official.
Yeah.
What I will say is that Estrada started the first fight, I thought, magnificently between 1 and 5. I think the best 3 rounds, incidentally, were the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th. And what Estrada did early on in the fight is that he didn't allow Gonzalez to establish his jab, because what Estrada was doing best was, not only did he have the hand speed, he had a significant hand speed, but his lateral movement was the key. He'd go to the right, fire the straight right hand, come back, and he'd hook off the jab, fire to the body, and then move. Whereas Gonzalez, we know, a pressure fighter, was very compact, head down. And I think the precipitating factor to the thing you just showed was that what Gonzalez did to try and slow Estrada down was that he began using that left hand to the body to cut off the ring. So not punching where Estrada was, but anticipating where he was going, especially when Estrada would try and dip to the right after his right hand, and then Gonzalez would come back with that left hand. Almost, it's amazing. Sometimes he's not even looking at his opponent; he's just anticipating where they're going to be. And we showed that in later on in one of the other clips when he's counter punching as well. So it was those, definitely, you're right, those body shots. Not only from his normal assaults, but the way he would fire it to cut off the ring, and there's not many people who do it like that. So very skilled fighter.
Oh yeah. Okay. This one I named it the angles. So yeah, it's, well, the same thing. This is how he goes to the blind angle, and he's able, like, still able. Just look at this. This is his fight against Caliafai, and he was still able to do the same thing. So with every punch thrown with his right hand, he twists his body and pushes off his left foot to go further to the blind angle. And I mean, this was also useful to him against Estrada as well, when he was trapping him on the ropes by the mid rounds. He was giving him hell, and not only going past the lead foot of the opponent, but then, I mean, he can go to, he hits all the angles. I mean, here he's on the outside of the right foot, throws a throwaway right hand to step further to the left, a left uppercut, and then he shifts to the left and opens up, sets up a liver shot. So you see how he's basically manipulating Khalifa's guard, uh, making him put up a high guard, and then bam to the liver. But yeah, it's nothing
Beautiful.
surprising.
That's a crazy combination. Cal was looking to fire that right hand from a counter before Gonzalez moved to that blind angle.
Yeah. Okay. Changing levels and the overhand right. This was a clip that I already featured on the other channel, but yeah, just let me quickly tell you what's happening. And I think that this was also something useful against Estrada, and I can tell you that the things that were giving Estrada trouble in that fight, in that first fight against Chocolatito, are the same things that are still giving him hell to this day. And one of the things are mixing up the combos up and down, especially starting to the body and going upstairs, but also changing levels, and that's something that Chocolatito does a lot. See, he drops down. Julio, oh, not Julio, Israel does the same thing, throws a jab because basically he was feinting a body shot, and he forces what's his name, Israel, to think about throwing a jab, and then he comes up upstairs, and always you're going to see, I mean, as if you didn't know it, but the moment he throws his punch, his overhand right, he immediately puts up a high guard. Very, very defensively responsive fighter. Amazing and underrated defense from Chocolatito. I would say underrated because that is not the first thing he's known for. Okay, let me prepare a couple of other clips. Yeah, we see here in the very last fight, Quadras showing you how he was going down to the body and then fainting, playing with his timing. I mean, and just like Chocolatito, who can make a small pause in between his punches to throw your timing off and then go upstairs, downstairs. By the way, I'm hoping that these videos are not very choppy. You let me know. One thing, yeah, so this is a clip about Estrada and his chin. I mean, we were saying, I think we can agree, we were all saying that Estrada would be the fresher one in this fight, and I do think it is the case. But then this fight against Quadras made a lot of us question ourselves, at least when it comes to Estrada's chin. But despite that, rewatching his fights this previous couple of weeks, he's shown an incredible chin throughout his career, taking bumps right on the bottom on his chin and still coming back with punches. Yeah, anyways, incredible chin from Estrada, and maybe it's been cracked. Maybe his rematch against Quadras is a sign that that tough iron chin has been cracked. But
remembering his first championship winning fight, the unified championship against Valoria, who is a heavy-handed, tremendous fighter as well. I think the fight was in China. Estrada had some difficulties. He had to make adjustments in the fight, but he was rocked. a few times by Valoria and was able to recover and come back and win a large portions of the late rounds to outpoint Valoria. I think it was very close. It may have been majority or split decision victory. But you're right, his chin has been granite. 2 fights against Swissacat never went down. Kept, in fact, he was getting progressively stronger in the first fight, and in the second fight, it was a masterclass. Against Gonzalez, I never saw Estrada being significantly hurt at all at any portion of the fight. Boxing fans get a little bit overexcited when they see a fighter being backed up against the ropes, but Estrada's punching on the back foot, and he was able to turn Gonzalez quite easily to get out of the corner. So, but against Quadras, you're right. It's the first time I've seen him very badly hurt. But Quadras is a big puncher, a natural 115. He's campaigned up a little bit heavier, 118. So he's a big guy. Looked kind of heavy as well, and no doubt he was on the juice as well. So the punching power would have definitely have carried forward. So, and the thing is official as well. It's only been 5 months since the first fight. So, is it a little bit too early? Has Estrada recovered sufficiently? It's another question.
Yeah, that's a great question that I'm asking myself to this day, and we may not know well up till this Saturday.
Yeah, so Gonzalez maybe the ironically, almost paradoxically, the fresh of the two fighters. Although he's had significantly more fight, but a 2-year layoff where he's rested his body, and ever since, he's had, apart from one fight against Israel Gonzalez, he's had 4 fights, all by stoppage, stroke, some vicious knockouts as well. Moises Fuentes and Cal Yafai. Hasn't sustained hardly any punishment in all of the 4 fights. So I think the confidence is with Gonzalez, and one can argue he's maybe the fresher fight in terms of the last sort of, the last year and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Because right after the rematch, the catastrophe he's been in, the rematch with Ranguisai, he had a lot of time to recover, and regroup. So, yeah, he may be fresher while Estrada is just coming out from that very tough fight with Quadras where he's been dropped. So. Yeah, we may not know for sure, man. So difficult to predict all these small things. And I wouldn't say, if you argue for any of them fighters to be the fresher than the other, I would not argue with it because I can see both points. Okay, but yeah. So here is Chocolatito closing the distance with jab, changing levels, and varying the punching rhythm. And I think that this is something that would be extremely important against Estrada, because remember that knockdown that he suffered against Quadras in the last fight. It happened because, like I told you, Estrada is somebody who can defend from 1-2s, no matter. I mean, classic combos, standard combos. Throw the left hand to right, the left to right. He kind of gets that timing down, and he can block. But then when Quadras started feinting that left hook, and it's a combo that he's been using even in the first fight against Estrada, but he was lucky to finally land it in the rematch.
Yeah, you posted a beautiful little clip on your channel showing what led to the first knockdown with that uppercut hook combination, where Quadras changed his combo, started feinting to the body, confused Estrada, opened him up, split his guard, and landed that beautiful two-piece.
Exactly. And so here is Chocolatito.
It just goes to show you. I mean, Estrada is. I mean, Quadras isn't a one-dimensional fighter. He knows what he's doing in the ring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And see, he likes to jump in from Chocolatito. I mean, to close the distance with those kind of jabs, to jump right behind the jab to a close distance. And well, both of them, Chocolatito and Estrada, they're very similar. They have similar styles in some way. I mean, the similar tricks, the similar combos they're using. But yeah, this is something. And by the way, jumping in this way, Chocolatito also creates the possibility to throw two ones. Coming from the outside, just jumping in like this. So, but we'll see in the later clips. Um, Hold on, this one I'll skip it. And here comes the clip that you sent me earlier today. Him knocking down Yaigashi.
Yeah, because what Estrada did well in the first fight, from my perspective, he not only nullified Roman's jab, but Roman wasn't able to counterpunch. Estrada floating between long and mid range didn't allow a smaller pressure fighter who was, his head was down, he was under a high guard, sometimes peekaboo guard. Um, Estrada used movements very well, so he didn't engage for too long, but he was able to capitalize on much faster hands and feet. But you see in the clip with Akira Yagashi when Gonzalez won the WBC flyweight championship and linear championship in Japan as well. You see Gonzalez's posture. He's under an extremely sort of non-porous, very tight guard, head down. So he's hard to even engage that he's even looking at Akira. Akira a little bit more upright, fires that left hook, but Gonzalez still disciplined in that tight guard, with that right hand protecting the right hand side of his, not only his jaw, his head. So he's almost going on instinct. He's not even moving, so he's not telegraphing his movements at all, but he's able to read Akira's left hand, just slight movements, and just look how short that left hook. That's the best of Gonzalez. It's like a 6-inch left hook, little bit of rotation, not telegraphed at all. Just that's counter punching at the very best.
Oh yeah, yeah. And man, and he's catching guys all the time with those short punches. Well, even Estrada in the first fight, every single fight, and see how he while Yagashi is coming in, he has his weight over his left foot, and so that's why he didn't telegraph the punch, because he didn't have to cock back his glove. He just had to rotate his left foot and his hips into the punch, and it was
Timing,
already, yeah,
timing. That's the word.
exactly. But
Beautiful.
okay.
See, Akira was trying to, his arms flying around.
Yeah, like a helicopter. Uh, Hold on, give me a second.
It's a pity that I didn't have time, but I wanted to show the clip with Valoria as well. The other counter left hook he landed against Valoria to floor him when he was trapped up against the ropes. Just shows a little bit of his boxing ability up on the back foot.
Oh, there are so many things about Chocolatito.
Yeah, for me, the two guys, Roman going for his first unification in four-weight divisions, so that'd be a planning achievement. Whereas Estrada, if he avenges his loss, he becomes a unified champion in two-weight divisions. So either way you look at it, it's greatness.
Great achievements for both guys. And in this clip, yeah, I'm showing you how Roman likes to go with a straight right to the body. Now he can vary it to set up an overhand right later, but it's also very useful to him sapping the opponent's stamina with that punch. That maybe doesn't look very hard, but man, take take those right hands to the body on a constant basis, and they'll see. Uh, okay, the next clip. Yeah, this clip features both fighters, Estrada and Chocolatito, how both of them were more than able to neutralize their opponents when their opponents were using the angles. You see Estrada throwing a right hand and going to an angle, and Chocolatito catching him without looking. Timing also. Here is Estrada doing the same thing. I mean, catching Roman while he's stepping to that blind angle as well. And this was not the only fight that they were able to do it. Here you see him against Quadras. Yeah, he caught Quadras numerous times while he was trying to change the angles, use the angles. But also at the same time, I can tell you that the lateral movement of Quadras helped him prolong his life in that fight. And I'll explain later why. Okay, let's go to the next one. Share screen. Countering the jab. Well, first I have to see it to try to remember what is it about exactly. Oh yeah, I mean, this could be a problem if Estrada chooses to and is able to use it, because Roman will try to counter his jab with the overhand right, but or step in with the jab. No, sorry, I wanted to say, and I'll explain you later. Roman will try to utilize his jab like he was doing in the first fight. And then this is dangerous, how Estrada is able to slip on the inside and land those mean uppercuts. You wanted to say something, Corruption?
Yeah, see, over the years, Estrada has become a better counterpuncher, but in their first fight, I felt both fighters, Estrada especially, were better from the lead position, landing their. Larry Holmes was commentating on the fight, was talking about Estrada having a lot of success during the early parts of the round, 3 minute round, whereas Roman would mount his offense in the last minute, sometimes a minute and a half. So that kind of gives you an indication that both of them were, you know, predominantly basing their attacks from lead positions.
And yeah, you're so absolutely right about it. I mean, some of the best, while rewatching this fight again, the first fight, I saw that some of the best work from Chocolatito came in the last minute of the fight. Um, yeah, this clip I named it. Hold on, let me see how I named it. Countering the setup punches with conviction. this could be one of the keys for Estrada, because Roman, you see, he likes to stand there at mid and short range with setup punches, and if you play his game, if you don't answer to him, you're giving him a free reign on the inside. But and this is the exact reason why he had such a tough time in both fights against Rungvisai, because Rungvisai was punching with conviction, and Roman, yeah, go.
It's funny, official. I read an article today from Boxing News 24. I just randomly stumbled upon it. And the editor was talking about Gonzalez and Rungvisai first fight. And this fucking idiot, um, he mentioned that it was Rungvisai's headshots and head attacks that busted up Gonzalez's face and led to, a number of cuts. I mean, that's the level of stupidity in boxing journalism. No mention of the headbutts, but oh yeah, it was the
Yeah,
headshots.
exactly. Man, oops.
That's one thing with boxing. The volume of stupidity, it, it's just frightening.
But it's so true.
Yeah, but are you surprised, man? Half the YouTube boxing community are all unemployed, so no wonder why.
Yeah. And the thing is, they never either they don't have a knowledge of the sport or the intelligence to recognize what's happening in the ring, or the experience to recognize what's happening in the ring, to know what they're watching, or they're just regurgitating the things that the other people said, and repeating the same old phrases without actually checking to see if they were true or not. But yeah, we can dedicate a whole not a whole show, a whole YouTube channel to those retards.
I mean, and one thing with their first fight as well, official, I don't recall a single clinch in the fight, despite the action from round one to round 12. I
Sorry,
don't
I didn't
recall.
get the question. You don't recall what?
I don't recall a single clinch in the fight. I don't recall a moment in which the referee separated the two fighters. Looking back,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it tells you everything.
yeah,
Man.
yeah, it's not like it's not like Jamel Charlo, the unified champion. Just go and count how many clinches he imposed against Jason Rosario, and you call that boxing?
Yeah, they should invent CompuClinch to count it. Yeah.
Rosario should have headbutted him on his highlighted Jerry curls.
Okay, calm down, official. Okay, countering wide or telegraphed punches. Yeah, so I think this was one of the things that was at least very clear to me, and similar to the clip that you were explaining us of Chocolatito knocking down Akira. Well, Estrada likes to lean, and I'll come back to it later. But basically, his offense, similarly to Tanaka, but of course on a much higher level. He's working at a much higher level, but still his offense is heavily based on him leaning over his front foot and pivoting on it, and so he likes to throw setup quick punches, and it's nice when he moves to the angle, etc. But sometimes when he wants to throw hard punches after a few setup punches, he tends to overcommit and throw wide punches, and Chocolatito was really using that against him. Look at this, another extremely short left hook, while Estrada was telegraphing his own left hook. See, not cocking it back. This is not a 6-inch counterpunch. This is a 2-inch counterpunch, man. So, and he's
Official, you know one fighter who reminds me a little bit of Gonzalez from that left hook. Back in the day when he was young and he was a little bit of a freak of nature, but Yuriokis Gamboa had a really short, beautiful left hook as well.
mm, well. I always liked Gamboa, but I never really followed him. And back then, I was much younger, so I never really followed his career. But if I have to believe someone, of course, it's gonna be you, man, because I mean, you know what you're seeing, what you're watching, unlike most of these motherfuckers.
Yeah, he had a really nice little Bruce Lee short punch.
And another thing about this clip, yeah, you see Quadras landing his jab. So at the end of the show, I'm gonna list all the three or four things that change the fight, the first fight in Chocolatito's favor. But every time from around, especially since the fourth round on, before that, Chocolatito was not really throwing his jab, trying to score points with it or hurt Estrada. But since the fourth round, he really saw that every time he leans over his front foot or when he bounces on the left and right foot, left and right foot, every time he bounces on the left foot, Estrada, or leans over his front foot, all Chocolatito had to do was throw a hard, short jab in his face, and he could not miss with the jab. That left jab was really landing all night on Estrada every time he leans on the front foot, and you can see it in those clips. Every single of those clips, he leans
Yeah,
over his feet for one reason or the other, and is getting countered.
and there is no coincidence that Estrada's defense has deteriorated as his lateral movement has deteriorated. In the first fight,
Mm,
what Estrada does is when he's at long range, he uses a different guard from when he's at mid range. Kansa tends to drop his hands, but then he goes to a T guard position when he's actually at mid range and exchanging. But now as he's progressively become, he's effectively sitting down on these punches. He's just exchanging and trading. He's almost like relying, has so much confidence in his chin that he doesn't disregard. He's just disregarded his defense at times, and it's he is very, very prone to not only that uppercut, lead uppercut, but his guard can be split very easy. I see Felipe Oricuta doing that as well with him.
mhm.
Estrada definitely beat him down. It got almost to an attritional sort of fight, but his defense is not good enough. Whereas Roman Gonzalez's defense has become significantly better over the years. Maybe as he's not become as sort of intimidating or as a wrecking ball. But the good thing is that he's compensated for that with his ability to go into different defensive positions. He can go into cross guard, he can go into shoulder roll, and look how many punches he blocked off with the shoulder roll against Israel Gonzalez. And the way sidestepping, changing position, transfer of weights, going left to right, left side to side. His defensive abilities that's a film study in itself.
Yeah, incredible, fucking incredible. I mean, yeah, he in one single exchange, he's able to defend from 5 punches in 5 completely different ways. Shoulder roll, I mean, blocking, pairing, it's insane. I mean, he doesn't get enough recognition for his defense because he's overly offensive fighter. So, but people disregard how many punches he's able and how he's just able to evade them. Incredible. And speaking of it, this very clip is named Defense, and so we see Chocolatito bob and weave We see him pairing punches, moving his guard in a completely unorthodox way. Able to step out, slip punch, get out, lean to the side, and man, this sequence is wonderful. How he's rolling with punches, blocking them, pairing them. Incredible, fucking incredible. Oh yeah, this one. Chocolatito is, he's backing Israel. He has him on the ropes. He jumps in behind the jab, and the moment he lands his jab, Israel Gonzalez is trying to counter him with a left hook, but Chocolatito immediately after landing this jab on his face, he's so fast. He with the same hand he parries his left hook, counter left hook, and lands the overhand right over it. Incredible, man. I mean, yeah, he does get hit a lot, but because he's an offensive fighter, but his defense is incredible. Fuck Floyd Mayweather, man.
I mean, for a pressure fighter, official, because you're continuously coming forward. You're stalking. You're hunting. Like Golovkin as well. I always see a lot of similarities between Roman and Golovkin, and that they train together as well. And you see little nuances that both of them replicate, kind of, and that's great because you're dealing with two, Hall of Fame fighters. So the knowledge and they observe each other. A lot of mutual respect between the two, and for a pressure fighter to exhibit that sort of versatility in his defense when your objective is to get at short range, get inside the pocket and start unloading, so you're going to be in the danger sector all the time, so naturally your defense has to be good. Otherwise he would have never been able to have had the career going into what is 53rd fight. He would have been brutally knocked out years ago, maybe 2012, 2013. So credit to him. It's that defense that is sustained, giving him that longevity.
Yeah.
As well as his punching power, no doubt. But
man, no one would be able to survive all of the opponents he survived and win against them without that defense, which got better with the years. I mean, his earliest fights I was able to watch, and pretty much they're almost all of his debut fights. I mean, on the internet, not all, but most of them I was able to find them, and which is normal, natural. But anyways, yeah, here is Estrada and his combos. He's very creative with his combos. Although, yeah, you'll see the common point in these clips is that, like I said, he leans over his front foot and throws combos that way, and often pivots on it. But there is a lot of Juan Manuel Marquez in him, because the way he leans over his front foot,
yes,
he's able to he can occupy your intention, your guard, with his lead hand, with his left uppercut, left hook, and then sneaking that overhand right from behind. So when he's leaning this way over his front foot, there is it's a funny dynamic. You have your lead hand, and or he can lead with the rear hand, with the overhand right coming from far behind.
yes.
And while we're concentrating on it, he can sneak in a very short uppercut or left hook, and you're fucked.
He was doing that against Roman as well. He after the 6th round, he was coming back with that straight, because Gonzalez was jumping in with that lead left uppercut, but
Mhm.
Estrada would come back with that straight right hand to stop his momentum coming in. So very cerebral fighter.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he uses the feints in between those punches. So yeah, very creative combos. Um,
But
I
it's that
mean,
but it's that main combo that I love that he throws jab, right hook, sometimes straight right hand, followed by left hook to the body. Jab,
here
right
it is.
hook, left hook.
Here it is against.
It's a beauty.
Yeah, and that is something that well, all many of them, Casimiro, Golovkin, and many others
Yeah.
like to do, throw a hook over the opponent's head. I mean, if you catch them, even better for you. But usually, it makes them duck it, and then you use it to change the angle and come from the other side with a hook of the other hand.
Estrada's left hook to the body. That's one of the best in boxing.
Oh yeah, I'll
The
talk
way
about it.
the way he fucked up Tyson Marquez with that left hook. Ooh, that was that was. I was almost in pain watching it yesterday, feeling sorry for Marquez. Ooh, he must have been hospitalized for days.
Well, this clip may be choppy, but this is about his explosive combos and movement. And you talk about this earlier at the beginning of the show about his lack of movement that is kind of visible today because he uses less of that lateral movement. Although while he was using it, like you said, against Chocolatito, he was oh man, he was having a great time because like I told you, you have to put on explosive combos against Roman, and the moment he stopped throwing his combos, he ended his combos, he would get out of way from at the angles or step out or use those angles to land some more punches.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like Estrada in the first fight took facial damage very early. His nose was bleeding in the second round, and he had a swelling under his left eye as early as the third round,
Mhm.
and his nose was sort of profusely bleeding pretty much throughout the fight. So that's the kind of reflection of who was carrying the power then. But credit to Estrada, he took it, and as I mentioned, I thought he was brilliant throughout the fight, and maybe unlucky to have lost the fight. Maybe, and I can argue
And
that point with anybody, with film studies, etc. So if anybody disagrees, um, fine, we'll go to a separate platform and we watch the fight and we'll argue the points.
well, one thing is sure, that fight deserves to be talked about, man. One of the best boxing fights, man. But yeah, this clip,
Yeah,
I mean, we were talking about how great Chocolatito's defense is, and it is indeed. But here is the thing. Um, that's also another reason why I'm saying he needs to be attacked with explosive combos, because when you let your hands go, he tends to block it. Of course, it's harder for him to sneak in counter punches, but also the way he defends with the right glove, and this is very similar even when it comes to their defenses. They're very similar in this way because both of him and Estrada love to parry with a right glove, and by parrying punches with the right gloves, they often leave the opening for the left hook. and there are a couple of them that Israel was able to land on him, but not only Israel, but many of his other opponents, by throwing the explosive combos with the intention to sneak in that left hook after
I mean,
him pair.
Israel had like deceptively very fast hands, fast combinations.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's not like super fast on his feet or something like that, but and his work rate isn't incredible, but yeah, when he lets those hands go, he's very quick with his hands. Definitely, I would totally agree with you. Okay. Let me see what this one is about. Yeah, even Estrada, he's more than able to sneak in fantastic punches by changing levels and using his feints. And look this long step with his front foot that he's taking behind the feint, slightly feinting a right hand by dropping down on his front foot, then feints a left hook to deliver, makes Quadras lean down, trying to block what he was thinking was a left hook to the body, and boom, he changes the trajectory of the punch and lands a very very hard left hook upstairs. The same punch this is the exactly same punch he landed in the first 3 seconds of the first fight against Chocolatito.
It's amazing watching this and not having to watch Canelo Alvarez and Avni Yildirim film studies. You know, you can literally put a spirit level down on the canvas just to try and reclaim Canelo's footsteps and the way he comes in an almost perfectly straight line. You know,
Yeah.
sorry, but that's pound for pound skills clearly for the pound for pound number one fighter.
Pound for Pound King, yeah. So stay tuned
Yeah,
for the
man.
next show, Yield
You
During
can
Breakdown.
you can jump up two weight categories and just walk in perfectly straight lines and knock everybody out.
Yeah.
That's the master plan.
Yeah, I love this clip from Estrada, and man, watching. I mean, I always appreciated Estrada a lot, but just rewatching his fights and analyzing his style in details for the first time, man, my respect for this man grew even more. I mean. There are many things that I were not seeing, and you see here Quadras. They're in the pocket. Quadras is trying to get to the blind angle and throw his right hand from there. And Estrada is turning with him. And while he's turning, following Quadras, he feints a right hand like he's about to throw a punch. You see right glove of Estrada, and so it makes Quadras think that Estrada is about to throw a punch. So he stops there, plants his feet. Quadras plants his feet, and boom, just and that left hook, short left hook from Estrada, is so deadly. It's so nice the way how quickly, how swiftly he's able to even throw double left hooks upstairs and downstairs. It's really flawless. Also a short hook, not devastating, but extremely accurate and lovely. Um, okay, let's go to the next one. Feints. Yeah, something that both of them love to do. Hold on. See how here Roman is feinting an uppercut just to make Israel react and smother him with it, with his forearm, instead of really trying to land an uppercut. Just to change the angle and go to the other side and to his liver, to land a shot to the liver. Also, hold on. I mean, this stream may be, these videos may be choppy, so I'm not sure if you guys are seeing it. But here he slightly feints an uppercut with his right hand by dropping his glove and sticking it right next to the right side of his body, and this provokes Yafai into putting up a tight guard just to jump in with the right hook. And both of them, they have really hard to see yet fantastic feints. See how calm Chocolatito is in the pocket. He comes in there, he touches Yafai's left glove with his right glove just to provoke him into throwing a punch, a left hook, and while he's loading on his left hook, bam, he sneaks in a short right hook.
Has Kel Yafai been discharged from hospital yet? I haven't seen him in the ring or any indication of his return. Yeah, he took one of the most systematic beatings I've seen, but beautifully orchestrated. It was almost like a magician at work. Just incrementally, just punishing him bit by bit, stepping it up and up. Just a perfect way to carve out like an entertaining knockout victory.
Absolutely. Here, Roman does pretty much the same thing like in the previous clip. He feints an uppercut just to make Israel extend his left arm, and bam, comes over the top of it with an overhand right. Oh, this sequence from Estrada is beautiful. Let me find it. Yeah, the way he throws a huge overhand right just to step to a blind angle behind it. The moment he throws his overhand right, he pushes off the left foot and goes to the right of Chocolatito, then throws a throwaway body punch with his left hand, and then steps deeper to an angle, shifts. From there, he lands a nice left hook. He likes to use this combo a lot to come from the outside to step to the short range and throw his left hook from the angle like this. See that? How he masterfully stepped in from long to short range using the lateral movement and feinting the right hand to switch his stance, go to an angle, and bam. Here is one extremely interesting clip. So rewatching his fights, I saw that very often when he gets hurt, when he's getting pissed up in the exchanges, he tends to switch southpaw to bring his front foot back and then swing with the left hook. He waits for it and bam. And many times he even caught Quadras with it and many other fighters. But yeah, I guess you're seeing here what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Loads up on it and then left hook. Well, okay, this was a headbutt. And yeah, he's, man, incredible heart from Estrada. When he's getting hit by some bumps, he's still able, like Manny Pacquiao,
Yeah.
no fear days. And by the way, yeah, like Pacquiao in his no fear days, I mean, you hit him, he jumps on you to land some of his own bumps.
Estrada,
But
he just doesn't give a fuck. It's almost like he has to be hurt before his motor starts.
yeah, makes sense. And this is another important point. Another thing
Yep.
that changed the fight in Roman's favor, in my opinion. In the initial couple of rounds, Roman, yeah, uh, he would throw some 5, 6, 7 punch combos, but not very often. What he was usually doing, he was throwing a 2, 3-piece combos, and very often he would use that overhand right, overextend, and get off balance and get countered by a short left hook in the process. But again, around the 4th round on, he started throwing, not loading up so much on his punches, but throwing quicker combos and longer combos, but never getting off balance. And he was forcing Estrada into exaggerating with his upper body movement, get off balance, trap him on the ropes, get him off balance. And I think this was also very, very important for him because and he would faint in the process with those combos, change the timing of his, the rhythm of his punches. So that's why he was catching Estrada with a lot of shit. And
Who do you think is gonna who do you think is gonna have the better energy for a 12-round fight from the two?
see, that's an interesting question. But yeah, Roman. See, the thing is, I think that yeah, Roman slowed down in a sense that I'm not seeing the same snap in his punches, the same quickness and explosiveness in his punches, but he still has a great gas tank. Yeah, he diminished a little bit, but I think that if it goes full 12, Roman would have more than enough. And I mean, Estrada himself, he's a high volume puncher, uh, fighter, but I don't know. I think that Roman would probably do very well.
The the thing that's impressed me with Gonzalez, certainly in the Israel Gonzalez fight, where he was comfortable, his work rate was impressive, but clearly not at, and it's natural with biological sort of degradation of the human body and wear and tear, etc. And psychologically and emotionally, people's outlooks and hungers and desires change over the years, so they're not as motivated as when they're chasing championship fights. But what Gonzalez did well for me to try and we talk about how they compensate for that degradation, and we see with Manny Pacquiao, he hasn't got the same volume, but he's a far better counter punch. He's a far better all around boxer fighter. And with Gonzalez, and I saw a little bit with Gonzalez and Cerameta, they're able to take the power off their punches now to increase their hand speed at certain times as a new facet in their game to try and surprise the opponent. And
Yes.
Gonzalez was doing that really well. I was surprised with at times how quick his hand speed was when he was just reeling off those combinations, but clearly he had redacted the power. It was about punch placement, trying to get Israel really protecting. At times it was the body he was at, so he was protecting his torso. Then Gonzalez would come up, mix in the hard straight right hand or the left uppercut. So the variation, I think, from Gonzalez is better than Estrada's current arsenal in that sense.
Yes, I would agree with you on that one. And but another thing is, right after the Yafai fight, he said one interesting thing. Roman Gonzalez in the interview, he said that since his comeback after the loss against Rongwisai, for the first time he started taking boxing seriously, in a sense that for the first time he was in the ring, in the gym all the time. And we were all able to see in the past, in between all of his training camps, he was blowing up, really looking extremely puffy in face, while I'm not seeing that thing anymore. And he seems to be more disciplined all year around. So that's why I believe he would do very well when it comes to his stamina and things like that. But what may really help Estrada is that he's still able to explode and be quick, use the pure
Yes,
explosiveness, while Roman, he lost that snap, and so that explosiveness could be dangerous when Estrada chooses to attack him with combos, because I already showed you guys how I do think that's the right way to fight Chocolatito, with volume, with explosiveness, and he can explode way better than Chocolatito at this point of their careers.
I think Estrada had the perfect game plan. If he could replicate what he did then and now with being the bigger man, we know he's slightly taller. He moved down in weight to fight Gonzalez, so he's naturally slightly the bigger fighter. He never campaigned at minimum weight when Gonzalez won a belt at minimum weight. Um, if Estrada, if he had those skills 8 years ago, the lateral movement, and now combined with the way he sits down on his punches, for me, Estrada wins the fight. But he doesn't have those lateral movements anymore, and nowadays he's more than happy to almost have an attritional sort of fight. But with Sarisakat, you saw the dangers that he recognized in the first fight. He changed his strategy, second fight. Kind of helped with Sarisakat fighting in an orthodox fight, but Estrada was using a lot better movements. He wasn't stationary in the second fight. So it clearly shows that he was obviously wary of Sarisakat's power. And he went back to what gave him, I felt, better success early on in his career. The question is he going to implement that in this fight? I think he will. I think he knows that Roman is a heavy-handed fighter. So Estrada is not going to be arrogant, and I think he's going to try and mix up, because he's a far better like that. If it's just a simple shootout in the middle of the ring, Roman's defense at short range inside the pocket is significantly better. I think he'll be able to parry so much more of Estrada's punches. I think the way he rolls, I think his guard position, I think it's more compact. His chin is always tucked down now. The punches are actually hitting the top of his head. So it would not be wise for Estrada just to have a, a shootout, just trading punches at short range with Roman. I can't see him winning that fight at all.
Yes, yes, and I agree 100% with you. And yeah, that Rungvisai rematch was the only time I've seen him use that same footwork after an extremely long
Yeah,
time. And it was wonderful how the way I mean, I think even the rematch, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, Rungvisai did a lot of good things, but man, that footwork, that counter punching, that timing made a clear difference because the way he would step out of range, wait for Rungvisai to step in with punches, throw a quick, short counter punch, and then step out, and then stop again, plant his feet again, throw a punch, step out, move away. It was
masterclass. Yeah.
fantastic sequences. Now this clip, excuse me, excuse me. Yeah, so this is what happens, and of course, Quadras is a totally different style compared to Chocolatito, but it was very funny how many times Quadras was able to land on Estrada when he would move to the angle, but towards outside of Estrada's rear foot, and hooking of the jab for the pretty similar reason I explained with Chocolatito Gonzalez and his defense, him liking to parry punches with the right glove. Well, Estrada does the same thing, and so you see how Quadras go to the body and then hooks, then follows up with a left hook. So both of them are more than than able to get hit with some good left hooks. And moving to Estrada's right could be could be of a good use to Chocolatito. Um, I mean, inside fighting. I have a clip on inside fighting. Uh, although I don't even need to talk about it because, of course, both of them are fantastic inside fighters. I think that Estrada is underrated on the inside, but this is Chocolatito's bread and butter. He's fantastic. You see how after landing to the body of Israel goes to clinch him, but Gonzalez's timing is so on point and his inside fighting that while Israel is leaning towards him, trying to grab him over his body and his left arm, he sneaks in his left glove, lifts up Israel, and shoves him to the right. So he's very quick. See, even preventing clinches, how he grabbed him under his
Yeah.
arm, on his armpit. He shows him, and he also keeps his both arms, on Israel's shoulders to create a separation between them. And then he gets that left hand out and sneaks in a very short left
Such a
hook.
pity that Joseph Parker and Junior Farr didn't learn that. Had to evade clinches. Those guys, man, they just clinched each other for 36 minutes.
Yeah. It was a
Yeah.
horror. It was a horror. I pity those who. Well, at least it was happening for us in the Europe. It was happening at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., something like that. But those who had to stay up late, man. And here is one thing about Chocolatito and him switching his stance and also using it to prevent counter punches and also get on the inside. how many times you've seen him throwing a right hand, landing it or missing it, and while he's in this position, he throws another throwaway right hand just to prevent a possible counterpunch and steps on the inside, and even to quote unquote correct his stance to get back in the orthodox stance, he throws a southpaw left punch. So masterful. And yeah, you see him changing ranges during one single exchange or one single combo that he's throwing southpaw left from the outside, southpaw right from the outside, southpaw left. He smothers the opponent, throws a short uppercut, then on his way out he turns and throws a left hook. Incredible inside fighter. I mean, I'm not even going to waste. Yeah, go.
And that's the thing with both fighters. Both of them have just got power in both hands. That's why the inside fighting, if they sort of elect to fight at that range, I think we're going to get a classic. I can't see any other way.
Man, every outcome is possible. I would say that the only thing that we're really seeing is Chocolatito stopping Estrada early or in the mid rounds, but other than that, really everything is possible. And there are many reasons to.
But official, do you think Estrada is going to be a little bit tentative in view of the third down knockdown against Quadras? I think he might be a little bit. He's definitely going to be wary of the power early on. And if he's a notorious slow starter as well, maybe he is at his most vulnerable between rounds 1 and 3. And it would be maybe advantageous for Gonzalez to actually pour it on. Take a risk, thinking his chin has been cracked. He doesn't start fast. Gonzalez has always been a very fast starter. Apart from the Srisakat fight where he got knocked down in the first, but that's where he made a comeback in the fight, but he was cruelly denied in one of the worst robberies I've seen in my life.
Yeah, man.
All those. I heard a couple of people saying that, Srisakat, won the fight, but we've spoken about that before. It's just a lot of these channels. A lot of these channels, it would be wise for them to discontinue their channels and retire. They got no ability to score fights.
Yeah, for some of them, it's enough for you to show shine, throw some quick combos. They're not even watching if it's landing or not. They're immediately counting it as a clear punch, although every single of them may be blocked. That's exactly what happened, in my opinion, in the Golovkin-Jacobs fight. I mean, to me, that fight was not close at all. I mean, it was a tough fight due to Jacobs's abilities and his athleticism and size, but it was nowhere near close in my own opinion.
I mean, so, Danny Jacobs' spinal column and his hip bones must be made out of 24 karat gold, because he can't bend at all. Yeah. He's got no dexterity.
I mean that fight, he was showboating because I think he landed a punch or two on Golovkin and made a miss, but for the rest of the round he was getting the shit beaten out of him, and doesn't even matter. But here is another interesting clip: lateral movement versus narrowing the stance and parries. So using the lateral movement against Estrada, because like I told you, see Estrada circling towards Estrada's outside of Estrada's rear foot. And very often, when you go outside of his rear foot, he's narrowing his stance in order not to be squared up. He rotates his shoulders. He puts his lead shoulder in front of him and right shoulder behind him, and is trying to parry punches. But this is why Quadras was able to land so many double jabs on him while moving laterally to sneak punches around that glove while he was trying to parry the jabs. And I saw it in more than one fight. Okay, let's go.
Carlos, that even early on in his career, he had one of the most explosive sort of quick flurry of punches.
Oh yeah,
Erratic sort of herky-jerky movement, but he would come up with some fast little combos.
yeah, man, he was so explosive. Oh, even that explosiveness.
Hell of a lot of EPO-driven combos, but they were still nice to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember that fight against Chocolatito. Wow, his combos, his flurries, when he was using his boxing, his footwork, his flurries, man, that was beautiful to watch. But here in this clip, well, you're seeing the same thing, him getting countered every single time he leans over his front foot. And it was especially the case in the first fight against Roman. So yeah, Roman, who's not known for his jab, who mostly uses it as a setup punch, but here he figured out that he's catching Estrada with a jab. And it was working better than his overhand right at the beginning of the fight. Let's go to the next one. Okay, left to the body, overhand, left hook. I mean, this was, I haven't seen, what's his name, Estrada, doing this in any other fight, really. Not at least doing it to the extent that he was doing in this fight against Rongvisai. But he was leaning so much during this fight over his rear foot this way against Rongvisai. I don't know why he was doing that instead of using his footwork and pivots. Maybe because he knows that he can switch back to southpaw Rongvisai. But yeah, he was getting cut again.
Yeah, he tends to do that a lot now. He tends to dip to the right a lot, come back with that uppercut, or try and anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that too. And he was trying he tried to land a couple of uppercuts on Rongvisai from that position in this fight. And so yeah, anyways, Rongvisai would come in with a quick 1-2 and then get him off balance this way and throw a left hook and even double it, triple it. He caught him so many times, Rongvisai, with the left hook from even from the orthodox stance. And plus,
Sarisakat's actually fighting on Friday night, I understand.
I don't know if he's fighting on the same day or a day before. Yeah,
day before in Thailand.
And that fight, in fact, it said that it's not. The WBC haven't decided that the winner of Chocolatito Estrada is going to fight immediately Rongvisai, but no, in fact, they're going to fight the winner of Rongvisai's fight. So,
I'm sure. I'm sure. Sarisakat, he'll bump into the Charlo twins over in Bangkok. Getting their teeth bleached again.
Yeah. Yeah, man. When Margaret Goodman sends her USADA agents sample collectors, they'll catch a quick plane to Thailand. And yeah, by the way, in this very same fight, Srisaket was timing him very well when Estrada would step in with his 1-2s. He was timing him well with the overhand right and always shooting that left hand, either a left jab or left hook to the body and then going upstairs with the overhand right. He was he was constantly countering him with that overhand right by starting a punch to the body. Especially since Estrada, like you see, he loves to get out, to either pivot on that front foot, like I explained earlier. But okay, let's see some new clips. Just give me a second. Share screen.
Man, if you had a good internet and good equipment, you could be the new Ridley Scott,
Who's that?
one of the best film producers.
Wow, I'm already producing some kind of films, but they're for about 18 of age. But you don't know about it. But anyways, let's get back to
Coming to
boxing.
the Adult Expo near you.
Sorry?
Coming to the Adult Expo near you.
Yeah, but man, it's painful to me when I see that my videos are choppy like this. But yeah, like I told you, completely different style from Chocolatito style when it comes to Quadras. But every time he was using his movement and punching on the move, going left, right, stepping in, stepping back, and throwing short punches, he was having success against Estrada. And I do think that Estrada is, well, like you said, he isn't using his footwork, his lateral movement as much as he used to use. So he tends to plant his feet a lot. And this is exactly what Carlos Cuadras was using against him, because he needs to lock his knees and lean over his front foot to throw his combos and then pivot out, step back, etc., like we already said. And yeah, in fact, this clip is just showing how he was giving hell to Estrada with those lateral movements and short combos. Let's go to the next one.
I think Estrada was very fortunate that Quadras never really had the kind of even gas tank that you need for a 12-round fight. He was just able to fight in bursts, but the bursts
Exactly.
that he showed, he gave Estrada a hell of a lot of problems. Whereas I think Gonzalez is going to be a lot more even paced, have better energy, or able to conserve his energy by varying, not sitting down on his punches that much. So it's going to
Yeah.
be if his conditioning is not perfect, absolutely perfect for this fight, if he's not recovered after 5 months, which is kind of short, but credit to him, stepping in the ring so quickly.
Yeah, and you know what, corruption? The thing is, even watching Quadras many years ago against Chocolatito, which was a great performance from Estrada. I thought that, man, if he had a gas tank to do those things
Yeah.
throughout the entire fight, he would be the absolute king of the real new Fabulous Four. I mean, he would have defeated Chocolatito in that case, in my opinion, Estrada, all of them. But even back then, many years ago, against Roman, he was doing it just in spurts. And I mean, yeah, he was more aggressive back then and had a higher output, but still not enough. And me myself, I was never a particular fan of that style of boxing, of pure boxing. Always loved the fighters, the inside fighters, the ones who are stalking, etc. That's the style that I like the most. But man, Quadras was so beautiful to watch.
And official, did you notice that in Estrada's last fight with Quadras, that his punches were a little bit wider as well? I haven't seen him hook that widely. He never really had the sort of precision, the sharp shooting, let's say even in the Rangvisai fight.
I cannot really remember the other fights, but I would say in his very last fight against Quadras, I mean that it comes back to what I already said earlier. I mean, he tends to throw wide punches in all of his fights, but also I was still seeing him throwing very sweet, short left hooks, counter left hooks. I was still seeing him landing some extremely short hooks. I even think I have a few clips, but I mean, I don't know. I was still seeing him being able to land short hooks, short left hand, but I don't know. Maybe he really changed for worse to when it comes to his hooks to a visible extent, but I was not really paying attention to it. But anyways, yeah, this is something that he likes to do a lot. While he can jab, etc., and shift to the left to an angle, and then from there throw the overhand right while his opponent, because he's moving to the left, so he's making his opponent turn with him. He's making his opponent turn to his right, or Estrada's left, behind the high guard, and then he uses it to sneak to make Quadras, let's say, turn his tight guard to Estrada, who's going to step into an angle, and so he comes from behind with an overhand right. So this is something that he uses a lot. It's a very intelligent combo, very intelligent trick, and he's using it very often. See here, he's jabbing while stepping laterally, and then throws an overhand right, and he can follow up with a left hook. But anyways, yeah, he's looking very often to land that overhand right while stepping to an angle, circling to his left. The next clip, okay. Let me see what is this one about. Yeah, so basically, yeah, as you can see, this is the third round, and so I told you that Roman in the beginning was in love with his overhand right, and it's a good thing. It could be very effective, and it became very effective against Estrada later in the fight. But earlier in the fight, he was setting it up with just one punch, two punch, and he was the one getting off balance. and Estrada was able to sneak in very short left hooks on the pivots. See that jack hook?
Yeah.
And so yeah, he caught him. He caught Roman a couple of times.
He's Estrada is just the better fighter on the back foot for me. When it looks
Oh,
like you've got him trapped up against the ropes, he's defensive adaptation, but picking perfect punches and getting the fuck out of there. Very underrated.
oh yeah. He is able to make his way out of a lot of shit in such a smaller room.
But that's the problem, official. The judges clearly didn't see any of that. Hence, how you know? I mean, how can you have a 118 to 110 scorecard? That's that's a travesty. That's not even acknowledging what Estrada was doing. Simply, you're just all you're doing is you're just you're clearly saying that you're just interested in that pressure fighter, the aggressive sort of fighter on the front foot. But Estrada, for a lot of part of the fight, he was fine. You want to commence war in the middle of the ring, and he was more than happy to do that. He wouldn't necessarily take a very quick back foot. If you go and look at the eighth round, Estrada fired a 6-punch combination, and I think that was the best combo of the whole fight.
Uh, I have a theory behind that scorecard, which definitely I would not agree with, but I can see the point. I mean, I do really think Roman sapped his energy with body punches, with constant pressure, and I do think that he was landing really a lot on Estrada. So I do think that ringside, being close to them, even in between the rounds, that they were maybe seeing that Roman's punches had a greater effect. But of course, yeah, I would not I would not agree with the scorecard. Um,
Oh,
so
no
yeah.
doubt. The weight of his punches was physically moving El Gallo. You could see that.
And you know what? I even have one of the clips uh, just showing you the heart of Estrada, because I really thought that he took a lot of punishment in that first fight, and him being able to survive. And I've seen Roman landing incredible shots up and down. So being getting hit on so cleanly and so hard by Roman, and still having the energy and the heart and balls to you remember very well the last minute of that fight, how he went on throwing bombs for half a minute. He didn't stop throwing punches. I mean, he was throwing one combo during 30 seconds. I don't even know how many punches he threw.
That's the thing.
So,
He's got that fighter's mentality. Roman was sustaining a lot of pressure second half of the fight, but even in every one of those exchanges where Roman had success, body punches, uppercuts, right hands, left hooks, Estrada would come back and fire a 5-6 punch. So he wouldn't, and that's key psychologically, obviously, for the judges as well. So it shows that he's able to retaliate from the combination, not exhibiting too much punishment, but able to mount his own attacks thereafter. So very, very tough fight to score. I think it was I've watched the fight maybe 35, 40 times twice a day. My perspective changes marginally, a little bit, every time I see it. Enormously difficult fight to score.
yeah, I see it. Well, how many punches they threw. But by the way, speaking of having a tough time scoring fights, I was watching Estrada against Villoria. Man, back then his hand
Yeah,
speed was so insane that
yeah.
to me, the first 2-3 rounds, it was impossible to me to figure out who was winning it. I'm not who was winning those rounds, but what punches from Estrada were landing and which were not landing, because the hand speed in that fight from Estrada was so fucking insane that I was really unable to figure out of his 7-8 punch combos what punches landed and which haven't landed. It's insane. But yeah, this clip again, we were watching. So in this clip, Estrada constantly pivoting on his right foot and getting cut with a well-timed overhand right. So if I wanted, this could be a 5-minute long clip, because not only this fight, this is happening to this day, to this very day. Very often he's getting cut with counters while pivoting, trying to set up the jack hook.
Is the zone streaming in 4K?
Really doubt.
Maybe it's the wrong person to ask that question to.
Yeah, that too. But no. In fact, the thing is, here in Liberia, the Zone is the only app, the only streaming app that works for me, and I think it's because of their poor bandwidth. So it's not very demanding on the internet connection. It works pretty well, but the quality, man, you don't even know how many people having the Zone are complaining about the video quality, and it's weird. A lot of them are complaining about the app buffering, but to me, every single stream when I'm watching a pirate stream is buffering, but not the Zone.
Yeah. The zone buffering a little bit is like a third industrial revolution for you.
Oh man, you want me to die? Yeah, so this clip again show Roman showcasing how every time he throws that right hand, he likes to double on it while he's regaining his stance, his balance, or switching ranges. He throws it and he gets back, throwing another preventive overhand right from that weird position. Here we see it again. So yeah, extremely clever fighter. And although yeah, when you watch his moves, the way he throws punches, what he's doing, how he's getting out of balance, I don't know how to describe it, but all the time he's leaning over his front foot, he's overextending, throwing his punches, but at the same time he's staying off balance while being off balance. He's able to I don't know. But man, Roman is insane.
Official, as we mentioned before, I'm a little bit pressed for time. How many more clips do you have?
Let me tell you. Punching.
I believe it's been Ridley Scott's film study. It's been 2 hours. Flow.
16 or 17. We're like about 35, 40 behind, 40 clips behind. Or do you want, if you need to go, I don't know if you want to give your prediction.
A little mention of the card itself. Fantastic card. One of the other fights. Actually, there's 2 other fights. We've got Hiroto Kiyoguchi making his debut. We've spoken about him in the past, so that's fantastic to see. Such a pity that his career has the steam that he had very early on in his career, winning, championships at two weights. Um, Pity that the unifications haven't happened yet in Japan. Certainly against Kenshu, I don't see why that fight didn't happen. But maybe with Matchroom behind him now, they can put some momentum back in his career. So fantastic to see him. And I must mention that the rematch between Cecilia Breakers and Jessica McCaskill for the undisputed championship that's a fight I'm definitely looking forward to as well. McCaskill inflicting the first defeat on Breakers, and you got to admire her dignity. Made absolutely no excuses whatsoever at the post fight, even though the fight was of two halves, and she definitely made the adjustments against a much bigger McCaskill. Started boxing, and she's a boxer, she's not a puncher, and maybe she did enough. I'm not going to argue too much. She never complained, but she took the immediate rematch, and she's 38 now, but a very, very classy boxer. So that'll also be a very good fight as well. So overall, I think it's the best card of the year.
Fantastic card, and yeah, great thing that Kikuchi is there. So maybe him signing with another zone, Matchroom, can be a positive thing when it comes to a possible fight with Kenshiro. Hopefully so. But yeah, really nice to showcase him to the Western world. I mean, such a shame that people don't know what a little beast he is. And if I'm not wrong, I mean, yeah, doesn't matter. Go on.
But
I'll
I'm
let you.
hearing he's been plagued by illnesses last few months. I think he only flew over a week ago, and I think he was still ill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he's not been well last. So it'd be interesting to see at the weigh-in what he looks like if it's impacted his ability to actually make the weight and defend his championship up. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'll try and
By the way, corruption. I have like only 7 or 8 clips, and I can go through them in 2 minutes if you want.
fine.
Okay. Let me share it.
No, if you want to take your time and go through the whole
No,
bulk,
no.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, so the thing is, I think that Chocolatito's uppercut from the blind angle can be really effective, especially he showcased it, especially against Yafai, and he was often using a combination of overhand right and the right uppercut, one after another, and he was catching Yafai with some great uppercuts from the blind angle. So he can use it against Estrada too, because in my opinion, Estrada would try to parry the overhand right from the angle with his right glove, but the uppercut would be a surprising punch. But let me go to the next one. Yeah, the one that I described on my own channel. Trap for the overhand right. You see how he plays on the outside, provoking Israel to throw a jab, a long range punch, a jab, just throwing some punches just to make him think about throwing a jab. Then he steps slightly on the inside of his range behind the high guard, lets him throw a jab, and at the same time he uses it probably to measure the length of Israel's arms, but he drops his gloves down and it's a trap because now he knows Israel's distance. He drops his gloves down, lets him throw a jab at him, but at the same time he slips it and transfers the weight over his rear foot, and that's how he sets up the overhand right, and he may be catching Estrada with some of them in the fight. But let's go to the next one. Yeah, like it's funny because you were talking about Chocolatito being able to time predict the movement of his opponents, and this is exactly the clip that explains it. Okay, it's not the foot movement in this case, but it's the upper body movement, because whenever Chocolatito would change the level, would get low, Israel would use his upper body movement because he was under such a pressure that he had to lean over left and right, use the lateral upper body movement. And so he was timing him. I don't even know how to explain it, but Chocolatito would drop down, wait for him to, when Israel is leaning over his right foot, Chocolatito would wait for him just a second for him to start going back towards the other side. Israel was leaning over his right. He waits for him to begin going with his upper body towards his left, and that's when, bam, he explodes with the overhand right. And he was landing a lot of those overhand rights when he had Israel on the ropes or pivoting on his front foot and using the upper body movement. He was basically timing his upper body movement. Now the next clip. In fact, I have one last clip. The others are not very important. And but here is Estrada setting up a liver shot, and like Corruption was saying, using the lateral movement, like I was saying, using the combos. So he would step in front of Roman with a flurry, and Roman would often lean over his front foot, all the time leaning over his front foot, and he would do a great job defending himself from punches for the most part. But then Estrada was using his superior hand speed, his fantastic hand speed, and from those combos he was pivoting on his left foot, changing angles and throwing those double left hooks up and down, and many times he was catching him to the body, to the liver. Here we are not seeing Estrada landing a punch because of the referee, but before the referee steps in front of Roman, you just see how exposed Roman is, leaning over his front foot, his liver fully exposed, and we see Estrada throwing a double left hook up and then down. And he's so smooth when it comes to throwing two punches with the left hand. Jab and hook and jab, hook up and down, double hook, amazing. So this is it when it comes to our film study, to the clips that I prepared. Are you there, Corruption?
Of course, got my popcorn.
Yeah, so this is everything I had. I mean, there were a couple of other clips, but not very important because I already mentioned those things. So
No,
yeah.
I think that was more than sufficient, and
Yeah.
absolutely immersive and brilliant. I thoroughly enjoy that, and I'm sure all of the guys in the who joined us for the live YouTube show also found them fascinating and riveting, and maybe it's given them a better indication if they're thinking of putting down some money as to how the fight might go. But all in all, there's just so many dynamics to the fight that both of the guys, there's so many permutations to consider. You've got age degradation, you've got deterioration that's defensively on the one side in terms of movement, where you've got a fighter who's hasn't got the same power and snap, but he's defensively better. So if just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The best result for me, official, would be a draw, so that we get a third
I
fight.
knew, I knew it. Yeah.
I mean, fuck the Wilder and Fury third fight. This deserves a third fight. Put it into the Barrera Morales, that sort of echelon, Joshua
Yeah.
Franco and Oscar Negredi had a very good trilogy that people don't even know about, but this deserves something like that. Such a pity that we've had to wait 8 years. They fought in their prime. Estrada maybe a little bit, certainly not, didn't have his man strength, but very young fighters, as Estrada moving down in weight, especially to fight Gonzalez. Whereas you've got Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, their longevity, their prime going, wedding in their 30s, 10 million offered to them, not even interested, making all sorts of excuses. Is that the kind of boxing role models that we aspire to watch, or fighters such as Gonzalez and Estrada, But all people are still talking about is that potential fight, not enough
Yeah,
media
but
attention or even boxing talk on this fight. It's a fucking, even listening to all of the podcasts that we do, they've not even covered this fight yet,
I mean, man, there's a reason why all these fuckers like Spence, Crawford, Canelo are officially banned from the coup d'etat of boxing. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to suffer a lot of damage, but yeah, fuck them. There is no reason to even cover them. I mean,
Yeah.
such a
To
bunch
all
of
you Canelo fanboys, the only thing I want to say is, how does a Canelo sparring partner show absolutely no resistance in the ring? I mean, why would Canelo hire a sparring partner who clearly doesn't have any boxing ability, and he's just gonna not even throw any punches whatsoever? It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
complete fuckery.
Yeah, and you guys think that Billy Joe Saunders has been useless for years. People think that's going to be a competitive fight.
Yeah.
This
And I
does.
mean, not only Canelo, but look at the quote unquote new Fab Four. I mean, a new Fab Four that they haven't faced each other of one single time, man, and they're already being called a Fab Four. Fucking punks. I don't know.
The true four kings is Roman Gonzalez, Juan Francisco Estrada, Kazuto Iyoko, and you can put in Sarisikatsu Rangvasai, even Kosei Tanaka. I don't even care, but you can call it a Fab Five.
Absolutely. Amen.
That lightweight bullshit.
I mean, it's just a way. Look, they have four young guys that are getting popular on social media, on TikToks, on YouTube clips, and they're all American, speaking English, and they're building their fan bases, and now they're Fab Four.
I just want to say to that Snow Queen, whatever her name is, Snow Queen LA, please release Vasili's sparring footage against Ryan Garcia to stop that little motherfucker lying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, lying about giving a top sparring session to Loma.
Yeah, Ryan. I want to thank God when all you do half the time is pretty much lie, as pretty much all of these boxing podcasts do as well. Some unparalleled liars out there.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead, man.
No, I was just curious to ask you what's your prediction for the fight?
I'm predicting the draw. No, I really wish it's a draw. But all right. Up until today, my prediction was, and I had really no equivocation from it, but I thought Roman Gonzalez would be the victor. But going back and watching their first fight with great detail and looking at the variables, and looking at one or two other fights, certainly the Israel Gonzalez fight as well. I think Estrada. Probably has the, I think he has the better. I think he has the better energy over 12 rounds. I think he has the hand speed, and that's a key factor. It was for me in their first fight. He's a little bit more diverse, has a little bit more versatility, can fight better on the back foot, better movements. That's the key against a shorter pressure fighter, Gonzalez, who may not have as quick athletic ability as he one did to cut off the ring. I don't think although defensively he is better, but I think he's not better when he's stalking prey anymore. I think he's better when he's exchanging and trading with them, because then he's able to use those side-to-side movements and those variations in his guard positions. That's how he gets angles, and that's how he gets the hook on the punches. And that's where I think he'll have a great deal of success against Estrada. But I think Estrada is going to be smart. I think he knows that. He cannot stand and trade. I think he's going to have to mix it up. I think he's more adept to mixing it up. I think he's extremely motivated, as he has been from 2013, that he wanted this fight. He's been chasing Gonzalez around, but still making his own legacy, and he's done that. Fought the better competition, no doubt, recently, and he's had better success against the opponents, hence why he's a betting favorite, because he's had better success against Srisakat and Carlos Quadras in that sense than Gonzalez. But and I think, see, the problem is, official. I think it's a combination that the judges are not only forsaking, but they're neolithically incompetent in looking at the number of punches Gonzalez is able to parry and block and pull down and roll and ride. They've showed that defense is just, it's one of those components in boxing which is just totally ignored now, and that is a travesty. And how many times have I spoken about it, that the scoring criteria of boxing is incorrect. It's fundamentally wrong, and it needs to be revised. Defense is the exact same, but the mirror opposite of clean, effective punches is one or the other. So if you're able to block it, then you can't get any clean, effective punches. So So if any fighter has showed that ability to evade punches, then that should be acknowledged and credit should be given to that fighter, but it isn't, and that's where I feel Gonzalez will suffer a little bit because he tends to shell up a little bit more. Um, he won't trade as much, but he'll be defensively more responsible. I think Estrada he kind of takes a little bit more risks at that time, and he'll fire those punches and those combinations, and I think visually because he creates a bit more separation at mid range, he'll step back. I think his punches are a little bit more eye catching, easier to see, and I think the judges are gonna score that. And the fact that there's no doubt about it that he's the A side in this fight. The roles are reversed from the first fight. The zone protected him. I think the zone want Estrada to win the fight as well. I think he's their prize asset in this fight. Yeah, maybe they do see a little bit more longevity, future marketability, and exchange value with Estrada as well. But I don't think there's going to be a knockout. There is a great possibility, but I think it might go to points, and I think Estrada might get the decision.
Yeah, yeah, and just to add one thing to what you were saying about the defense, I mean, uh, I I would maybe describe it differently than you, but we are basically thinking about the same thing, and that is that it's to Gonzalez's disadvantage that he's so subtle, even when it comes to his defense, because blocking punches and rolling with them don't bring you. I mean, it's been seen by the judges as if those were landed punches, because if you're so subtle with your defense, it's not very easy to be. Judges would not be able to see it that you were blocking punches, that nothing is landing on you. So in order for your defense to be appreciated, you have to have a flashy defense, to slip punches, to get out of the way, etc.
But official Adrian Broner was able to win a round recently without even throwing a punch.
Oh, the new Willy Pep.
So anything is possible in boxing.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Fuck. Yeah, and man, you know what? I think that I'm going with my emotions, because objectively, everything being took into account, realistically, Estrada should win this one. And I think that he's favored for a reason, but I don't know, for some reason. For some reason, I would pick Chocolatito. Uh, See, so Estrada is definitely a fresher fighter, and yeah, I mean, it's questionable when it comes to his chin. Has it been cracked, or was it just a fluke? But doesn't matter. What I'm telling you when I'm saying he's fresher, he has more speed. I mean, he hasn't slowed down physically. He's more explosive, and that is what is needed against Chocolatito, who, like I said earlier, is not able to explode with those same burst. He's not as explosive as he
Yes.
used to be. So
And his
yeah,
power at 115 official, clearly it is not as detrimental as it was at 105, 108, and 112. That's obvious.
yeah. And so Estrada can, that's why I can even see Estrada catching him and even stopping him, because he can sneak in a counter left
Yes.
hook, etc., and stop him. So, and I do think that a smarter bet would be to bet on Estrada. And yeah, I mean, Look, it's funny looking some of the scorecards of some of his previous fights, even the rematch with Rungvisai, which I personally thought that was a close fight after all, even despite of an, I would say, fantastic performance by Estrada. It may sound contradictory. It was a fantastic performance, but I do think that Rungvisai did a lot of good work that went unnoticed because it was not flashy. But yeah, and the
To be
scorecards,
official, Rangvisai is one of the luckiest boxers in recent times. He got a he got a favorable decision against Gonzalez and against Estrada. The judges forgot about those two knockdowns. Look at those two knockdowns against Iran Diaz in Thailand as well, that the judges just totally ignored.
yeah,
And against Carlos Quadras as well. Um, well, he lost the third fight, but he's had a lot of good fortune, and
indeed.
now he's got a title shot against the winner.
Yeah. Yeah, but,
Of
well,
It's
I'll say it
amazing.
again, please.
I mean, who has he beaten to warrant a title shot? He beat Amnat Ronrang. How does that constitute a title shot? It's just
Yeah, and uh, when we are at it, Ruinrong, who is completely shot,
mm,
who moved up from his best division, so and he had a tough time with. I mean, tough time. It was a fight where he was supposed to stop him in a couple of rounds. I mean,
what we want to see is the winner. If they don't contest the third fight, if this is a classic or a draw, the winner fights Ioka. Free belts. Simple as that.
yeah, it would be wonderful as we haven't seen Yoka fighting against Chocolatito Estrada. Yeah, it would be lovely to see him against them. And from the top of my head, by the time one of them faces Yoka, I would probably favor Yoka against either Chocolatito or Estrada. Uh,
I wouldn't.
but oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, maybe while doing my film study, maybe I would change my opinion, but this is just from the top of my head. I do think I would favor Yoka. But yeah, to come back to this fight now,
Yeah,
the prediction. See, I told you I can see Estrada catching him with something and stopping him. I can see for the very similar reason, and not even that winning a decision, but also because he's certainly going to use his footwork, just like you said. He has to. He knows who's he's facing. Yeah, not a prime Chocolatito, but yet a Chocolatito full of confidence and not a shot fighter. So yeah, and with that, he has the foot speed, has the explosiveness in his legs that he showed against Strungwisa in the rematch. Even being favored, I mean, probably favored by the judges as the A side. And what I wanted to say earlier, it's funny that the scorecards for the rematch with Zor were like 115, 113 in Estrada's favor, which is surprising because for someone who's supposed to be your your clear A side in that weight class, you would probably think they should be more favorable. The scorecards should have been more favorable towards Estrada, but they were not. I think personally that they were good cards, but I
but
expected them.
was Risakat also a matchroom fighter then? I think he might have been.
I think so, yeah, but I mean, I think that signing Estrada was a huge. Oh, I'm not sure. No, or yes, I don't know. I don't. Oh
I think he
man.
might have been third party matchroom then, and I think he, yeah,
Yeah, but why would you favor a fighter from Thailand, when you have a Mexican who's younger than him, 4 years younger, and much more popular fighter. So it makes not no real sense to me. But anyways, I think that at this point, whatever the reason was for the scorecards, I think that at this point for this fight, it's much better for Matchroom and the Zone to have Estrada as a winner. So yeah, I would say every normal person should bet on Estrada, but I'm picking Chocolatito because I do think that he saw the same things I saw in the first fight, and that he's uh, he's not gonna get he- he's not gonna be getting out of balance so often as he was at the beginning of the fight. He would uh, he would use feints. I mean, yeah, it would be a tough time catching Estrada. So his timing has to be excellent, has to be on point, because Estrada is gonna use his footwork a lot. I don't know how and why. Maybe I'm just fanboying. I can even see Roman catching Estrada, certainly if his chin has been cracked, if that's really the case, which I'm not sure it is. He can stop Estrada, he can stop him late. He can even outbox him. I mean, outbox him in a sense, not boxing like a pure boxer. You get me? But winning the exchanges, clearly winning the exchanges. I would not be surprised if he gets a tough victory on cards. Tough fighter. I don't fucking know. This is,
I think there might be knockdowns in this fight.
yeah, possible.
I think one
The-
knockdown each.
Yeah, possible. I mean, there's a good reason to call on knockdowns happening on both sides, man. But I'm like I don't know. I expecting Roman, although he's past his prime, to be at his possible best version of past prime Chocolatito, if you get me. But
Yeah.
also again, Estrada should be in an excellent shape and with an excellent game plan. So yeah, fuck, naturally, yeah. If I was betting, I would bet on Estrada, but since I'm not, I'm gonna say
S-
Il Chocolatito.
this is the beauty of authentic boxing. The epitome of boxing, when somebody who's conducted hours and hours of film analysis has still some equivocation in the result. We and how we've fluctuated our picks. That's what boxing is about. 50-50 matchups, where the prediction of the fight is almost prognosticating the fight is almost giving us a headache. That's
Yeah,
refreshing. That's a
yeah,
nice feeling, although it's can be a little bit frustrating maybe to the end listener, but it just shows anything is possible in this fight. Knockouts, knockdowns, robberies, points, controversial decision, a draw. Everything is possible.
yeah. It really is the case, man. And in a film study, you're not able to see everything because maybe the skills are not what is going to decide the fight. Maybe. Um, uh, your chin can decide the fight, your physical, uh, your form, your shape, your athleticism, your quickness, but those things are not, you know, your heart, your game plan. I mean, so it's not
Yeah.
easy to show you everything, but anyways, yeah, I know it is frustrating. It is even frustrating for me, and I mean, my prediction here in this case isn't for the shit, because I'm saying it because I mean, if I was betting, like I said, I would bet on Estrada, but I'm picking Chocolatito. I don't know how.
I might do another video on Friday or Saturday after the weigh-in, just to give a definitive final pick because I've still got a little bit more reconnaissance to do. Schedule
Wonderful.
so hectic. Might be just like a really short video giving the betting some decent prop bets and maybe like a final analysis post weigh-in sort of thing, like a little
Yeah.
coup d'etat sneak attack live from Bavaria or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be
Oh,
just official. Just our thoughts on the on the weigh-in and final. Yeah, we might do
yeah.
something like that. I think that sounds good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well
So
done.
tentative predictions, definitive predictions would be Saturday afternoon, just before the fight, after the weigh-in. We'll
All
come back,
right.
a little coup d'etat, sneak attack. I think. Um, do you want to give your thoughts on any of the other fights? Have we already done so? Or
Just quickly, I mean, just a very few words. Yeah, uh, I was hoping that would be able to do a small breakdown video on Hiroto Kyoguchi. Unfortunately, not, and I'm too tired at this point, and I believe you are so too. So,
should we combine that on Saturday then? A little weigh-in and finish the Kyoguchi and just do a little weigh-in summary.
well, yeah, why not? Yeah, but the thing is, I haven't prepared. I haven't done my film study. I was thinking about using the clips from the other channel and explaining it in detail. Not, it would not be maybe some fresh material, being that it's on the other channel. But I just wanted to participate into helping the Western boxing fans get, be aware, become aware of Kyoguchi. So I, I just thought that it would be a way to hype him up a bit, in a sense that to present him to the Western boxing fans who never heard of him, maybe.
No problem.
So yeah, we can do that. A short little sweet breakdown on Hiroto Kyoguchi.
Fantastic. Well, there you go, people. Kudetara Boxing, little midweek special. Hope everybody enjoyed the fantastic analysis. Big respect to official for
Thanks, bro.
all of his efforts. He manages to combine Tour de Paris with film analysis, and God knows what he gets up to. Um, great effort. Really enjoyed that. Clearly the best film analysis anywhere on the YTBC. No one has covered this fight with the quality and the depth that the coup d'etat of boxing have. No surprises there. We'll be back on Saturday. Sneak attack forthcoming. Want to thank everybody who joined for the live show. The time was a little bit awkward for those in Europe, but you've got a nice little treat to watch back tomorrow in its entirety. So much respect to everyone who joined us. Much respect to official and brilliant, brilliant. Really enjoyed the show and cannot wait for the fight. So, on that note, sayonara from corruption.